Today's lesson is Sicily, past and present. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And we're continuing with our travelogue, talking about the island of Sicily, which is a part of Italy. It's an island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, just off the boot of Italy. And yes, indeed, most people probably just go to the Italian mainland, Rome, Venice, places like that. But if you got a little time, you might want to go to Sicily. And our writer Neil had time to go there, and he was pleasantly surprised by the place. It's got beautiful beaches there, but it's also got this historical legacy because of all these different influences from various civilizations. And, of course, he did go to this place called the Valley of the Temples and really loved being there, especially under those tall, towering Greek columns.
Absolutely, yes. We got a little bit of a chance to almost travel back in time. We visited the Temple of Concordia in the Valley of the Temples, and our writer kind of drew a connection between the ancient temples that people used to worship Greek and Roman gods in and modern big Roman Catholic Christian cathedrals that people go to these days on holy days, on special days, and especially on Sunday for services. So they're worshiping different gods in different types of religious buildings, but the same ideas are very much alive, very relevant to modern Sicily as well. So we've seen some of the history. Now, for today, at least for the first part of our article, we're going to be visiting the capital of Sicily. So a bit more of a modern city, but still a city with a very long and interesting history. Let's get into it.
I soon made my way to Palermo, Sicily's regional capital. This city is a beautiful kind of chaos. Scooters speed past, vendors shout from popular market stalls, and the scent of delicious street food fills the air. It's dirty and busy, yet beautiful and vibrant. Its gorgeous cathedral is Sicily in microcosm, a hodgepodge of architectural styles left by periods of Arab, Norman, and Byzantine construction.
大家好，第一部分介绍名词 chaos， 它的意思是混乱或是无秩序状态。例如 The sudden storm caused chaos on the streets, with fallen trees blocking many roads. 突如其来的暴风雨导致街道上一片混乱，倒下的树木堵住了许多条道路。或者 The powerful storm caused several traffic accidents, creating chaos on the roads. 这场强烈的暴风雨造成了几起交通事故，使得道路上一片混乱。下一个看到这个名词 vendor， 表示摊贩或是小贩。例如 There are many street vendors in the night market. 夜市里有许多街边摊贩。或是 There is a street vendor near my apartment who sells fresh fruit every morning. 我的公寓附近有一位每天早上贩售新鲜水果的街头小贩。继续看到形容词 vibrant，指活跃的，充满活力的。例如 The community is vibrant and full of enthusiastic people. 这个社区很活跃，充满了热情的人们。也可以说 Sabrina has a vibrant personality that lights up any room. Sabrina 有着能够让任何空间愉悦起来的活泼个性。接下来介绍形容词 gorgeous， 表示引人入胜的或是美丽动人的。我们可以说Teddy had a great view of the gorgeous mountains from his cabin. 从 Teddy 的小屋可以看到美丽的山景。又或者说 The guests at the wedding all thought that the bride looked gorgeous in her dress. 婚宴的宾客都觉得新娘穿那件礼服看起来很美。接着看到形容词 architectural， 指建筑的或是建筑学上的。例如 The building's design was not up to the neighborhood's architectural standards. 这栋大楼的设计不符合该社区建筑标准。再看一个例子 The temple's architectural design features an elegant symmetry. 这座庙宇的建筑设计特色在于雅致的对称性。下一个看到名词 construction， 指建造或是建筑。可以说 The construction of the new bridge will take approximately 2 years to complete. 这座新桥的建造将耗时约2年的时间完成。也可以说The construction of the new school should be completed by the end of the month. 新学校的新建应该将于月底竣工。另外补充这个字的动词 construct, C-O-N-S-T-R-U-C-T, construct. 例如 A new park is being constructed near my home. 我家附近正在新建一座新的公园。 最后一个句子 To construct the model bridge, I'll need wood, glue, and scissors. 要建造这座模型桥，我需要木头、胶水和剪刀。
Okay, so let's talk about Palermo in today's lesson. Of course, we got our writer going to Palermo, and he says, I soon made my way to Palermo, Sicily's regional capital. Okay, so again, Sicily is part of Italy, so it's got a regional capital there, capital city for the island of Sicily, just like towns in different states in the U.S. are kind of like the capitals of those states. So this is a regional capital of Sicily, and it's the city of Palermo, and he says this city is a beautiful kind of chaos. Okay, chaos here just means a very unorganized kind of situation. Lots of things going on. It seems kind of disorderly. It's not very orderly. But I think this is probably a good kind of chaos because I guess that would be a good way of describing now, as you say in Chinese. Just a lot of things happening. It just seems to be really, really exciting, but it looks kind of disorganized at the same time.
Absolutely, yes. Going into a night market on a Saturday evening would be a beautiful kind of chaos. Tourists rushing around, local people doing their shopping, people delivering food to all the different stalls. You can kind of get the same kind of idea, and I'm sure it's not too different. As we read, scooters speed past, vendors shout from popular market stalls, and the scent of delicious street food fills the air. No, I'm not talking about Shilin Night Market or绕著or any other popular night market here in Taiwan. We're talking about something very similar over there in Sicily. But they have scooters, they have the same kind of motorized two-wheeled vehicles. They have vendors. These are the people who work the shops and sell things in night markets. Vendors, it's a little bit different from a salesperson or a clerk. You might find a salesperson or a clerk in a bit more of an established store, a place with a sign out front and walls and doors and windows. Vendors might be working from, as it says, their market stalls. It could just be a table set up outside in the open air, and they're selling things, food in the evening maybe, or in the morning they're selling chicken, fruit, vegetables. And so a vendor is basically just someone who's working in a more temporary style shop, like a stall or something like that. But the same idea, and the scent of delicious street food fills the air. Pretty sure you won't be smelling stinky tofu around the markets of Palermo, but you might be smelling wonderful garlic dishes or things like that. Yes, delicious food is all around you, so it's very much a similar scene to a night market. And as it says right after, it's dirty and busy, yet beautiful and vibrant. Again, you could kind of use the same description for a night market. It's a little dirty. You don't want to drop your food on the ground or something like that. It's a little busy, of course. It's a little crowded and hectic. You might have to watch where you're going. You don't want to get run over by a vendor delivering things or something. Yet that speaks to the beautiful kind of chaos we read about just earlier. But it's also beautiful and vibrant. It's full of life. It could be a good kind of chaos, right? We're not talking about dangerous chaos where you're like, we got to get out of here. Something bad's going to happen. This is too crazy. No, it's just full of life. It's vibrant. There's a lot of activity, a lot of action, a lot of things going on. It's a place filled with great energy.
Exactly. It's vibrant, it's lively, and of course you got those scooters speeding past. You could say they're zipping past, going by quickly. Its gorgeous cathedral is Sicily in microcosm, a hodgepodge of architectural styles left by periods of Arab, Norman, and Byzantine construction. So those are some of the different civilizations that have passed through Sicily. At various times, the Arabs were there, the Normans were there, the Byzantines, the Romans, the Greeks, or whatever. They were all there, and they left behind their influences here, but we're talking about the cathedral here. He's describing it in different ways here. It's gorgeous, which means it's really, really beautiful, really good to look at. It's gorgeous, like a beautiful woman, for example. She could be described as being very gorgeous, more pretty than pretty, okay? That's gorgeous. And it's a cathedral, again, a big Catholic church, but he's also describing it as a microcosm. A microcosm is sort of when everything is together in in one place, and it sort of represents everything around it, okay? Kind of a small sort of representation. It encaptures, or it encapsulates, I guess I could say. It encapsulates everything around it. It's a hodgepodge of architectural styles. Hodgepodge just means a mixture of all those things. That's an informal word there, but hodgepodge, you could also use the word jumble, kind of a mixture of all these things. And architectural just means having to do with architecture, the design and construction of buildings.
There you go. So we have different styles all in one building, this sort of mixed up historical record of the people who have lived and settled and built things in Sicily going back hundreds of years. And their construction, their architecture, the things that they built. So all of these things are there. And, you know, back in the old days, you might build an old church. The first people to arrive, the Byzantines, might have built the church, and then the Arabs add to it, and then the Normans arrive a few hundred years later. They add to it. So it kind of went through all these different styles, and you can actually see that in the buildings. Very, very interesting. Now let's get out of the city. Let's get back to some smaller parts of Sicily, some less visited in the next part of our article.
I ended my trip in Cefalù, a small coastal town that feels lifted from a storybook. The sea gently laps against the harbor, locals gather outside cafes, and narrow streets twist between old stone houses. The surroundings are magnificent, but to the people here, they are just a part of everyday life.
All right, in the second part of our article, Neil's trip is coming to a close here. Of course, he's gone to different places in Sicily, and he says, I ended my trip in Cefalù, a small coastal town that feels lifted from a storybook. Okay, so remember, there are different things to see and do in Sicily. You can go to the ocean side, you can see the coastline, or you can go to Palermo, the regional capital there. Well, now he's going to a coastal town. If something's coastal, well, it's next to the coast. It's next to the ocean coast, like Ilan or Hualien or Taidong or Tainan. They're all coastal cities. They're all next to the coast. And so this is a small coastal town, maybe like Danshui or something like that. And he says, it feels lifted from a storybook. And a storybook, of course, is a book for children that tells stories. And, of course, it's got some really nice pictures of these fantasy lands with mountains and oceans and lakes and things like that, and castles or whatever. So he thinks, wow, this looks like a fairy tale. This city doesn't really look real. It looks like it's from a storybook. It looks like it's a fantasy place.
Yeah, there's wonderful pictures. You can find them, I'm sure, in the magazine or online. I'm looking at some now. It is absolutely picture perfect. What a postcard place to visit. And also maybe slightly less visited by tourists, so that might be good. There's a lot of these beautiful seaside towns around the Mediterranean, both in Greece and around the Adriatic, but a lot of them are sort of overrun with tourists. But it looks like Cefalù might be a good place to go. As it says, the sea gently laps against the harbor. Locals gather outside cafes, and narrow streets twist between old stone houses. Now, if that's not a picture to get you calling up your travel agent or booking your flight to Sicily, I don't know what will. We've got the sea, that's the Mediterranean, of course, gently lapping against the harbor. To lap is sort of to splash in a way that waves and tides do. We also use this, strangely, to talk about how dogs and cats might drink their water. They lap up the water by using their tongues to kind of scoop it. But think of that kind of gentle splashing that you might hear or see when an animal is drinking out of a bowl or something like that. Now think about very, very small little waves. We're not talking about hurricanes or tsunamis or giant surfing waves here. No, we're talking about very, very gentle, that kind of soft sound that you might even try to listen to as you're trying to sleep. The sound of waves gently splashing on a beach or something, lapping against the harbor, lapping against the rocks on the beach or something like that. There are locals gathering outside these cafes, and I'm sure they have a lovely waterfront area where there's cafes and seafood restaurants, and you can watch the sunset over a beautiful glass of Cinzano or something, and narrow streets twisting between old stone houses. You notice in those old cities, they don't have that very organized square grid network of roads like we have in big modern cities. The roads are kind of haphazard and randomly going around the town, and so you can explore, and every corner that you come to might offer a new and beautiful surprise around it.
Sounds like a great place for pictures, and the surroundings are magnificent, but to the people here, they are just a part of everyday life. They're used to it. It's every day. It's just something that they see every day. They're kind of used to it. They might even be bored by it, and they might also be bothered by all those tourists who want to come there and get in the way when they're trying to get to work or school or whatever. But we're talking about the surroundings, which are basically all the things that are around you, the buildings, the mountains, the hills, the beach, all those things are around you. They surround you, and they are magnificent. They're great. They're fantastic. They're wonderful. But again, the people there just think, ho-hum, they're just regular things we see every day. But still, it's still great to live here. We probably wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Okay, we're at the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Here's the third and final part.
On my final night, I watched as fishermen tended to their boats. I thought about all the people who had done the same thing over the centuries in this town, whether Greek, Arab, or Italian. At that moment, I felt very much in the present, but also totally connected to the past. A trip to Sicily, then, is not just a vacation to a beautiful part of the world, but a journey through time.
All right, in the final part, our author is kind of reflecting on the trip, both what he's seen and also what other people might have seen in Sicily going back hundreds and thousands of years. He says, on my final night, so the last night there, I watched as fishermen tended to their boats. This could be along the waterfront of Cefalù or any other of the coastal fishing towns in Sicily. They're tending to. When you tend to something, you take care of it, you manage it, you do the things that you need to do. People who own boats need to keep the boat in good shape, keep the boat clean, make sure the decks are washed of salt and all that kind of stuff, make sure the nets don't have any holes in them. So they're just kind of doing the basic maintenance that they need to do on their boats. And as he's doing that, he thought about all the people who had done the same thing over the centuries in this town, whether Greek, Arab, or Italian, or Norman, or Byzantine, or anything like that. So yes, people fish in different ways now. The ancient Greeks didn't have gas-powered or diesel-powered fishing boats, but they were still fishing. The fishermen still had to repair their nets and keep their boats in good shape. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, no matter what culture they were from or what time they lived there, they were doing kind of the same things. And that's a wonderful thing about Europe. You get this sort of sense of unbroken lines of history, traditions that have been going on for hundreds of years and still go on today. And he says, at that moment, I felt very much in the present, but also totally connected to the past. So there I was taking pictures of these beautiful things with my iPhone and posting them to Instagram. So I'm very much in the present. I'm in the modern world. I'm not giving up the conveniences of a modern world, but with just a little bit of imagination, you can also feel very connected to the past. You can feel much like an ancient Roman might have felt if they were taking a holiday down there in Sicily in, 25 BC or something like that.
Okay, and he finishes up by saying, trip to Sicily, then, is not just a vacation to a beautiful part of the world, but a journey through time. So again, we like to go to places for different reasons. You can go there because it's really beautiful. You can get some great photographs if you go there. But also, you can learn a little bit about history and get a sense of people who lived there hundreds of years before you did. Okay, we're at the end of our lesson for today. Here comes Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分介绍了巴勒摩的大教堂，它融合了阿拉伯、诺曼与拜占庭时期留下的建筑风格。文中用到名词 construction， 它是指建造、建筑或建筑物。那它是来自动词 construct。 我们来介绍它的字首字根。看到 struct 这个字根，它有 pile或者是 build 的意思，表示堆叠或建造。像 structure 这个字，它就是由 struct 表达建造，然后再加上名词字尾 ure 而来的。那 structure 就可以指结构啊、构造体、建筑物。好，那我们看看在 construct 这个字当中，字首 con 表示一起， struct 是指建造，合在一起。construct 它就有建造建构的意思。我们也补充两个有相同字根的单字。第一个 instruct， 它的字首 in 表示在点点点的上方， struct 表示建造。那同学们可以试着想，执行建造工程的时候，有人在上面指挥， 那用这种方式也许可以联想到 instruct 它有指导指挥的意思。第二个补充的是 destruction， 它的字首 de 表示去除或否定， struct 表示建造， ion 是名词字尾。那当我们把某个构造啊建筑物除掉，那就表示要把它破坏掉嘛，所以 destruction 它有毁灭破坏的意思。好，在课文第二部分，作者提到他的旅程最后来到切法卢，他写说 The surroundings are magnificent， 周围的环境美不胜收。 Magnificent 是形容壮观的极好的。那我们也来介绍一下它的字根。好， magn 或是拼作 magni 表示巨大的众多的。那其实这个字根是源自于拉丁文的 magnus， 拉丁文的比较级是 major， 最高级是 maxim。 所以补充一下，当你看到含有 maj 或是 max 的字，大多带有这种大或多的语义。而在 magnificent 这个字当中，它的字根 magn 表示巨大的极大的， fic 表示做， ent 是形容词字尾，我们就可以用制造出极大的场面去联想 magnificent， 它有壮观的、宏伟的或是令人印象深刻的意思。顺便补充两个有这一类字根的单字。第一个 magnify， 它的字根 magn 表示大，那么 fy 是动词字尾，合在一起magnify 它具有放大扩大的意思，像 magnifying glass 就是指放大镜。第二个补充的是 majority， 那它的字根 maj 表示多的， or 是比较级， ity 是名词字尾，合在一起 majority 就表示多数。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单词吧。
Chaos.The protests turned violent, and chaos rapidly consumed the city. Vendor. Arnold works as a fruit vendor at the farmer's market. Gorgeous. We had a gorgeous view of the mountains from our hotel room. Construction. Due to safety concerns, the construction of the new bridge was temporarily stopped. Surroundings. Timmy felt more comfortable once he became familiar with his new surroundings. Magnificent.The magnificent palace, built a century ago, remains an architectural marvel and a popular tourist attraction.
Discussion Starter starts now!
It's time now for our discussion starter, and the question is, based on the author's descriptions, would you prefer to visit Palermo or Cefalù? Why?
I'm going to take a liberty and I'm going to change this example answer just a little bit. Seeing as I've just looked at some pictures of Cefalù, I think I'd rather visit Cefalù because it is incredibly beautiful. It really looks like a lovely place to go, and I would love to eat some calamari or some lovely seafood there down by the waterfront in Cefalù, but I'm sure Palermo's a great place to go as well.
Well, seeing as you'd rather go to Cefalù and that I'd rather stay away from you outside of working hours, I would prefer to take a trip to Palermo. Not only that, but also because I like cities and I like the activity going on, and there are probably lots of things to eat and lots of things to do there and lots of people to meet. But I, of course, would have to brush up on my Italian or whatever dialect they speak there. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.